Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our show. Our guest today is an author, Mr. Mark Tedesco, who wrote a book, very sensual title, She Seduced Me. A Love Affair with Rome. Cool title. It's really catchy. The whole idea of Rome, Italy. Oh my gosh, it brings wonderful memories. One of my favorite places of myself, and especially my wife. My wife, I asked her, "Do you want to go to Rome?" And she's already got the luggage in her hands. She says, "When are we leaving?" That was just a question. But Mark wrote this book, and we connected. He shared with me the book, and I just really enjoy the easy flow. But how much memory, how much information is in so little, and yet it's not a travel book per se. It's a book of adventures. So, but he's also an educator. He's not just an author, and he brings together a lot of elements. And we had a great time talking before we did the show today. But let's take it over to Mark. Mark, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
Mark, I want to take you back to your early life and ask the question, where did you get the idea of going to Italy?
Well, I'm from Sacramento, Northern California, and I was only 16 in high school, and this idea came to my head. Well, it's two ideas. One, I decided that I wanted to try the seminary. I wanted to experience the seminary in preparation for maybe becoming a Catholic priest. That was one idea I had when I was 16. The second idea I had was, but I wouldn't go in a seminary unless it was in Rome, unless it was in Italy. I don't even know where that idea came from. I just had it in my head. I didn't know any Italian. I knew some Spanish. And everyone I asked about what they thought of that idea told me it was a horrible idea. So
That was motivational.
Well, it's something that I share with other people because you can have set a goal for yourself that everyone else might think is a terrible goal or not a good goal. But if it works for you, it's important that you can pursue it. So I had no money and no one giving me encouragement. And yet when I was 19 years old, I was living there. So I took Italian at night, night classes while I was going to school during the day. I got different jobs around school when I was in high school to earn the money, and I got a scholarship to go over there, and I stayed there for 8 years. So it's just an example that I can set a goal for myself and reach that goal, even though it seems like an impossible dream. And so I'm so grateful for that. My life became so much bigger when I moved from Sacramento to Rome.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Christian Brothers High School in Sacramento. It's a private high school. It was all boys at the time, and now it's co-ed.
I went to Salesian High School in Los Angeles, so we share that in common as well.
Okay, yeah.
So the whole idea, when I think of Rome, when I think of Italy, back then at my early ages, I was an avid moviegoer. And I always remember two movies. Well, actually three, an actress. Roman Holiday with Gregory Peck, which I got to meet once in my life. Mm-hmm. Ben-Hur, oh my God, Ben-Hur, And every time my dad heard the word Sophia Loren, he fainted. He just loved her to death. So, yeah. So I remember Italy a lot. So, maybe that's what it was. But I mean, how much Italian culture did we get being in parochial school in Catholic school as part of the Bible studies?
Yeah, I mean, the only Italian culture I remember had mostly to do with religion class, where they would talk about the Colosseum and the early Christianity and the martyrs. I remember just a little bit of that from high school, but we really weren't exposed to it very much, except through those movies that you're talking about. And I remember Ben-Hur just even as a small kid just captivated me. And as an educator, I've used clips from that to try to get my students to see, wow, this is a really cool world that we can explore and that we can become part of. But I think the fascination or interest in Italy for me started. Um, it's hard for me to actually pinpoint exactly where it started from. It wasn't specifically from school because I wasn't getting a lot there. It was more, I felt like, and when I was 16, that somehow Rome was one of the important centers of the world that I wanted to be part of. And so that's why I wanted to go there beyond all else and do my studies there. So I was able to actually to go there and finish my university studies over there.
So it sounds to me like if you hadn't gone there through the seminary, you would have gone anyway, but you wouldn't have lived there per se.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't get into a seminary in Rome, I wouldn't have gone to a seminary. So my path would have been completely different because that was in my head. I equated the two. I didn't want to do anything less than go to Rome. That was like the pinnacle for me. So if I would have taken another path and visited Rome as a city, I think I wouldn't have had the relationship that I have with it now. I mean, the book, She Seduced Me, A Love Affair with Rome. I really think of, Rome as being a person with a personality.
Ooh, tell me
Um,
more about that. I never heard that statement before.
well, some people give cities genders, and for me, Rome has always seemed like a woman who. I'll give an example.
Sure.
When I've been around away from Rome 6 months or 12 months, I almost feel like Rome is just whispering in my ear, come back, and just sort of pulling me back and influencing me. And the thought becomes a desire that then becomes a longing to return there and to sort of um, go back to Rome and renew that relationship, almost like a relationship with a person that you have a long distance relationship with. Well, we need to get together because it's been 6 months to renew our relationship, to feel like everything's okay between us. And for me, the city of Rome is sort of the same way because it's people who love Rome understand this. There's something about the city that gets inside of your system,
Yes.
gets inside of your being and lives there and then draws you back and gives you another perspective. So I think that's one of the things that draws me to Rome is the personhood of the city. It's not just an organization of houses and museums and peoples, but it's something that almost seems to breathe and have a life to it. And I experienced that when I lived there, because when I lived there, there would be different seasons that the city would take on a different personality. For example, the weeks before Easter, the city would become just jam-packed with people everywhere. The restaurants were full and the churches were full, the museums were full. And then the day after Easter, all of a sudden, everyone would be gone. And it would be as if the whole city was just letting out a sigh of relief that they're all gone for a while. Just like a person would do, like when you have house guests for too long and you're grateful they were there, but when they leave, you can take that deep sigh and say, oh, we did good. We did good entertaining, but I'm so glad they're gone now.
I think my wife's going to enjoy the show, and I think if she had the option of us living in Italy, I think she would take it. I have a very good friend who's also another educator, Tony De Lorenzo. He's an educator, and he also owns a restaurant in Montebello, Salvatore's. And him and I have always hit it off, and love the way he talks to me in Spanish, and I try to talk to him a little Italiano. So we go back and forth, and really just always had a fun. But I remember he mentioned to me, he says, the mind is in LA, but my heart is in Italy.
Mm.
And that touched me all the time. And I could always see him sort of like something calling him back, and he says, like he can't see himself ever not going back.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle that I love, that I feel drawn to. And for example, the life on the streets, that in Rome, in other cities in Italy too, but we're talking about Rome.
Yes.
I can go outside, go to Piazza Navona, which is one of the central plazas, without having any plan. I can bump into friends there or people that I met, or I could just take a walk and see centuries of artwork in the fountains and the buildings, or hear live music and street entertainers. It's that lifestyle where the life happens on the streets that I'm really drawn to. And in the book, there's actually a chapter on that where that life on the streets has been in Rome for centuries, for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter where it follows two senators who went to one of the bathhouses where senators and others would go every afternoon, and then they go outside to get a meal, and then all the street performers are around them. And so then that scene transports you to the present, where we see other street performers. I have some interviews with street performers in the book to understand their stories. So it's the life on the streets, and that so much of life happens outside of your front door. So in Rome, I don't want to stay home in the evenings and watch TV. I mean, I want to be out there and seeing the real thing, really experiencing life. And that's one of the things that I long for. The second thing is the warm human relationships. I find it much easier to connect with people in a lasting and deep level in Italy than in general. I mean, I have friends in the U.S., but in Italy, somehow it's easier for me to make those strong connections. And I have friends there that we've been friends with for decades. So that's another aspect that I'm drawn to, the immediacy of forming relationships there.
I'm going to go on the limb on this one. I'm going to I was thinking as you're sharing, I think the idea when I think of Rome, other than the religious side, I always think of the arts.
Yeah.
You know, the atmosphere of the arts being in everything, whether it be music, whether it be art, frescoes, colors, activity, people exploring ideas. I think that's the part that I saw and I sensed being there. Like you share, you know, just to go see Trevi. Every time we go see Trevi, the Trevi fountain. And yet every time you're there, it's not like, oh, there is the fountain again. You get that whole atmosphere of people sitting around, drinking wine, and people laughing, and people holding hands, walking down. So it's not a Hollywood romantic. It's actually real.
Yeah. There's definitely a vibe in the air that you feel when you get there. And I agree, you know, when I'm standing in front of the Trevi Fountain, it's not just something I see. I can feel the vibe from the crowd. And so many people who visit there, they look so happy because, you know, people there have made, a lot of people who visit Rome, I think, are there, maybe it's a one trip in their life, or with great economic expense that they put their savings together and they've made that trip, and they're so happy to be standing in front of the Trevi Fountain, or to be walking into that church in awe, or looking at that painting and can't believe that they're there. And I think that vibe of excitement is almost tangible. And then, as you know, walking through the streets of Rome, say to the Trevi Fountain, and then I hear music and I step in, and there's a free concert inside of one of the churches of some of the most beautiful music I've heard in my life. And you can just step in and listen to it, a choir, orchestra. And that happens all the time. All these unexpected opportunities are there to be able to experience the arts. One of my favorite artists is Caravaggio, and he painted in a really sort of dramatic style. There's a chapter in my book on him also. And what I find so interesting about him is that he was this man of contradictions. On the one hand, he was one of the greatest artists because he was able to capture the human spirit in a new way. And on the other hand, he was basically a street thug who got into fights and carried a sword and got arrested and killed the man. And so if I didn't know anything about him as being an artist, I would say this is a real loser. And then if I didn't know anything, if I only knew him as an artist, I would say, wow, this guy has his act together. But the fact that he combined those two things and created some art, some of the most beautiful art, including religious art, that's very dramatic and insightful, he's so intriguing because you wonder, how did he pull that off? How did he, with all his human defects and all the things in his life that were going in a terrible way, yet he produced something so beautiful. So that's the beauty of Rome, I think, is among the sometimes crumbling buildings and sometimes dirty streets, there's this beauty that you won't see anywhere else in any other city of the world. And that's one of the things that I love about it, that contradiction.
And the Colosseum is magnificent. It's, we have buildings much taller than that. But
Yeah.
when you think back, and it draws in all the history as you're looking at it, and you can hear the noises of the gladiators and the noises of the animals, and your
Yeah.
mind all of a sudden takes off. You're actually transported there. It's something that has only experienced in certain places, and Rome is one of them. You raised a question for me, since you're a historian as well and you teach history. Can I ask you a sidebar question that sort of came to my mind?
Yeah.
How is it that Rome was not destroyed during World War II?
Well, one of the reasons is because the Allies were careful about it. There was a lot of German occupation, and the Battle of Monte Cassino is an example of
Sure.
Where the Allies did destroy an important monastery with a lot of history.
Right.
And the reason for that is that they just could not get the German soldiers dislodged from there. So what they did, they bombed it to rubble.
Right.
But if you go there today, there's an exact reconstruction of it made with Allied money that you wouldn't believe that this wasn't standing all along. So they made it in such a way that it looks like the original.
Mm-hmm.
But in Rome, different criteria was used because they wanted to purposely avoid. There was some bombing, but it wasn't anything like London.
No. I've always, wondered about that, because that it was preserved, that it didn't get caught in the middle. I know it's the same story for Paris, is Paris burning, but it's just like that could have been a travesty of war, much higher than anything we can imagine, in addition to what already happened.
It could have been, yeah. But then Italy, as you know, turned, and then things started to go in a different direction.
Right. So they saved it by getting rid of Mussolini. So I guess that would be part of the story. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you here on a little show, and just sort of throw some questions at you.
Sure.
Favorite Italian movie?
Favorite Italian movie? Movie about Italy? Well, I have to say, like I mentioned before, it has to be Ben-Hur.
Ah, yes.
I mean, it's I love Ben-Hur because it brought that world to life, and it brought so many elements together in one movie. There's the action sequence, there's the love, there is the faith connection sequence, undertone. So it's a lot of elements that usually a movie is able to capture only one of those, but it captured, Ben-Hur captured all of those. I also liked Gladiator as far as a more modern take on it. What I didn't like about it, though, was when they take historical liberties. So they put storylines and people in that are not historical. So I had to get past that. I like the scenery in Gladiator more than the storyline, but in Ben-Hur, I liked it all. That's probably my favorite.
Favorite Italian food?
Favorite Italian pasta bolognese.
You sound like my wife. Same menu. Yeah.
I love bolognese, and I went to Bologna, Italy, some years ago, where my friends say you gotta have the bolognese there. It's the best in Italy. And I think that Italians have more refined taste buds than we have, because it was very good, but I couldn't taste a dramatic difference from the pasta bolognese in Bologna and in Rome. But yeah, I like a lot of things.
I'm going to edit that section now. We don't want to offend anybody here.
Okay.
No. Oh, I love this question. Favorite wine?
Favorite wine? Well, I'm going to tell you my favorite Italian drink, which is not specifically a wine. I love Aperol Spritz.
Oh.
And Aperol Spritz is a mixed drink that's very popular in southern Italy, some parts of northern Italy also. Usually on a warm summer night, you get an Aperol Spritz, which don't even tell. I don't even know the recipe. It has vermouth that it has. I have the ingredients in my cupboard here.
You're gonna have to make it one of these days when we meet each other. You're gonna have to take it to your level.
Aperol Spritz is perfect. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite restaurant? We
Um,
usually we all, when we travel, we all have that one favorite restaurant.
I have two favorite restaurants in
Okay.
Rome. One is a great cafe, and a lot of people don't know about it. And it's inside of a university. That's my budget-friendly, teacher-friendly restaurant, and it's actually a cafeteria which is for students in the Gregorian University. But anyone can go in and get lunch there. So I can get like a 3-course lunch for less than $10 there. So being on a teacher salary, I need to make my budget last, and so I would look for places like that. And the owner of that restaurant, then Francesco, he's an acquaintance of me, and I interviewed him in the book. In fact, the address of his restaurant is in here.
Oh, cool.
He started another higher end restaurant a few blocks away, which is right near the Trevi Fountain. And what I love about his restaurant is that it's not a tourist restaurant. They focus on quality of food and making people feel relaxed and not rushing people off. So they renovated this space. It was actually just a year before COVID, so I really hope that they can come back fine. And there, the food has been consistently good. The prices are good also. And everything is the highest quality. And for the book, I interviewed some of his cooks and other people. So he brings in graduates of cooking school, but they're all young people. They're all people in their 20s who have an eye towards the past and the present in their cuisine. And it's one of the best restaurants in Rome, I believe. And it has a Latin name that I can't remember right now, but
that's okay.
But it's in the book.
It's in the book. Okay. Yeah. So I think the whole idea of going to Rome and for people to make a place their favorite place, to make it their favorite wine, even if it's not famous, just to make everything and be connected, because in my mind that goes through my head. I can think of places that I said, if I go there again, I want to go there again. I want to eat there again. I want to taste the food there again. Yeah. And I guess what I'm learning from you is one doesn't visit Rome, one has romance with Rome. I'm learning that through you.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I first had the idea of this book, I can remember where I was standing. I was in Trastevere, and there's a church called Santa Maria in Trastevere. There's a big plaza in front of it with a big fountain. And I was standing near the fountain, and all of a sudden, the idea of the book came to me like a flash, that I realized that what made Rome unique are its stories. And its stories is where that romance and meaning come from. So looking at that fountain, there's a story behind it, or looking at that painting or that statue, or even that street corner. There's a central place where all the buses converge near Piazza Navona, and in this square, there's a grassy area in the middle of it where the plaque says Julius Caesar was killed there because the Senate House was temporarily moved to that spot. So even at a bus stop, there could be a story right in front of it. So I think that the romance for me comes from connecting with the human stories that are part of the history of the city, whether it be stories from the past, like Julius Caesar, or I explore some of the stories in the book of Nero and Augustus Caesar, and like I mentioned before, Caravaggio. And then the stories of people living there today. So I interviewed some expats, a friend of mine who lives there. He's from Glendale, California, and now he lives in Rome. And also the street performers. There's a lady from New York, and I'd see her for years tap dancing on the streets of Piazza Navona. And finally, I asked her to tell me her story. The most fascinating stories come from people who sacrifice everything to live in that city. So I think that the romance of the city comes from the people there, past and present, and the stories that weave it all together into some type of unique whole.
Where can our viewers learn more about you, follow your stories, connect with you, etc.?
Well, a number of places. I do have a website. It's my name, marktedesco.com, MARKTEDESCO. I'm also under that name on LinkedIn. I'm on Amazon as an author. I'm also findable on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. My publisher wanted me to get on all the social media. I'm not a huge social media person, but she said it's a must.
Yeah, nowadays it is.
So I'm on there.
So do you see yourself, unfortunately, we're coming, to close the show, and I'm just enjoying, the travels with you, even if it's right now through our minds. Do you see yourself ever moving to Rome and living there permanently?
This is the dream, that when I can retire, to live half in California and half in, actually it'll be southern Italy, Puglia. European cities like Rome, Paris are very expensive to live in. I don't have the finances to be able to do that. But the minute in Europe you move out of a historical center, within 45 minutes from a city, things become very affordable. So because I have a group of friends in Puglia, which is the southern part of Italy, some of them work in Rome and commute back and forth during the week. But the idea would be to be able to live in Puglia and be a few hour train ride from Rome, but to experience Italy that way, and then to come back here certain times during the year. So to keep my place here and to live there also. So a lot of things have to fall in place for that to happen, but that's the dream.
Now, again, you reminded me of something. I've read several times, New York Times, somewhere else, where there are places in Italy where they will sell you a house, a villa, whatever, for $1.
Yes.
Well, what is that all about?
Well, what it's all about is the Italian population is going down. And so a lot of people who are born and raised in Italy, they leave the country, they go to Germany or other countries where there's more employment opportunities. So that's making some of the areas that don't have universities in them, some of the beautiful towns and villages that we'd love to visit, the population is aging and the economy is going down because there's nobody to spend and buy. So that's where this idea comes from, of offering these houses for €1 each to foreigners who would live there, take up residence. They hope they would have kids there or spend money there to bring life back to the towns. But just from talking to my friends in Italy, there's always strings attached. And the string basically is attached that there are homes that you need to renovate. So my friends in Puglia, for example, told me that you can find a house there, not a €1 house, but you can buy a house there for about $12,000. But you need to renovate it. So they said in the end, you're going to be spending $40,000 to $45,000, whether you're buying a €1 house or a $12,000 house. So when you buy a €1 house, you need to make sure that you're set to spend. You're going to have to spend the first few years to bring it up to a certain level that would make it livable. The €1 houses usually have a contract that it's usually 3 years, your house has to be fully renovated. Whereas if you just buy one on your own for a low price, like in Puglia or other areas, you don't have that contract. But yeah, you're gonna be probably 45,000 at least to bring it up.
Well, that gives me more information. I wondered about it, but I guess that's a great option. I mean, really, nowadays we're from Southern California. We're going to talk about getting a location and turning it over for, I don't know, even say 100,000. That's almost next to impossible anywhere. So
yeah, that's impossible in the States. That's true.
This is not going to happen. So anyway, Mark, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for taking me through the streets of Rome and the streets of Italy. I'm going to enjoy some wine this evening, thanks to you.
I hope we can meet over there and they say that the best coffee place is in front of the Pantheon, a place called Taza d'Oro, which means cup of gold. It's a large coffee house that's very popular, and that's supposed to serve the best coffee in Rome. I'll show
I
you.
remember the place.
Oh, you
I don't.
remember the place?
I remember it. I don't. We did not sit down, but I remember there.
Yeah.
Like I said, my wife and I we've been there about 5-6 times, and we never tire of going there. We'll get off the ship in Cevescia,
Yeah.
and then go up an hour up to Rome,
Yeah.
hang around, and then go back. And
Mm.
quick story: last time I took the train, there was these 3 ladies in front of me who they started talking, and then somewhere in there they slipped in Spanish. I
Oh.
thought, whoa, that caught my attention. I said, well, where are you ladies from? They said, oh, we're Peruvian. And I
Oh,
thought,
really?
there's a lot of Peruvians living in Italy. And then
Yeah.
as I was walking through the town, I started spotting them. They said
Yeah.
a lot of Peruvians love Italy. So
That's
it's
true.
a
There's a
very
lot of stuff.
international city.
It's very international city. And if you sit in Piazza Navona, which is the Central Plaza,
Right.
eventually you sit there long enough, you'll see the whole world walk in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. You need to have your own show. Visit Italy and tell us where to go and where not to go. This has been an outstanding experience. Mark, thank you for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your emotional connection, which is a love affair with Rome. She Seduced Me, Mark Tedesco. I recommend you get it. And you're going to enjoy it. Sit down with a good glass of wine, coffee, and read it slowly. And what I did is I kept putting it down and looking up places you mentioned and then grabbing it up again, and they just add to the flavor of the book. So Mark, I wish you continued success. Please write more books, and love to have you back on the show. And so before we close, one more time, where can our viewers find you?
Easiest way, and my email is there also, is my website, my name, marktedesco.com, marktedesco.com.
Mark, success to you. We should say something in Italian.
Grazie mille per tutto e sarò sempre grato a te per questa opportunità.
Grazie. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Armando.
Continual success.